Chapter 5. It's a disaster. So it turns out that when you travel across the Atlantic twice in less than a week, you can get a ridiculous case of jet lag. Twice as much if you were drugged. Which, it turns out, adds an interesting gloss to things as you struggle with your internal clock playing merry havoc with your mood. I woke up in my apartment in LA. Boxes were everywhere. The west-facing windows dribbled in a bit of light through the blinds, and colorful decor that I had placed on the walls was strangely missing. I'd forgotten how much I disliked bare white walls. My sheets were still on the bed, though, and smelled slightly of a perfume that I couldn't place. I rolled my head over and noticed my bedroom was almost entirely packed up. Clothes were in boxes and my shelves were empty. The closet was open and all the hangers were bare. I heard a few familiar voices outside in the living room. I was having trouble getting my limbs to take my orders, which was awfully similar to what happened when I woke up in Paris. My eyes cleared and slowly my arms and legs took my requests. I rolled out of my bed and took in the smell of my own living space. To the casual observer, it looked like I was moving out with the aid of professional movers because all the boxes were the same and it appeared that every effort had been made to wrap my possessions in packing material. Again, I heard voices in the next room. I noticed I was wearing flannel pajama pants and no shirt. Curious. I shambled out into the living room and saw two familiar faces. "Hey there, stranger," Tom spouted brightly. Cliff hovered nearby, wrapping my pint glasses and dishes in newspaper. They both closed on me, Tom slapping me on the shoulder. "Well, aren't you full of surprises?" I half smiled. "Yeah, that's me." "Why didn't you tell us, Vaughn?" Cliff cut right to the quick. Before I answered, my front door opened and there was Evette, carrying a box of donuts in one arm and a carry of Starbucks in the other. She'd swapped her white semi-business suit for a red tank top and close-fitting jean shorts. I can't say for sure, but it seemed like she was aping my red t-shirt and jeans from the flight over. Needless to say, she wore them very well. "Awake at last, sleepyhead." She handed the donuts and coffee to Tom and bounced over to me, embracing me in a soft hug, kissing me lightly on a cheek. Well, whatever she had dosed me with must have caused some amnesia, too, because I really had no idea what was going on now. "What can I say?" was all I could muster as I scrambled for words. "Yeah, man, why didn't you tell us you were planning on moving to France?" Tom espoused as he pulled a donut from the box. I probably looked like a deer in the headlights at that moment. I looked over to Evette, and in my loudest mental shout, I prayed. She was psychic and could tell what I wanted her to do. Damn! Turned out she wasn't. Lousy, non-psychic French. She slid under my shoulder, placing her small arm around my waist affectionately. "He probably thought you would have talked him out of it." Cliff and Tom both laughed, and I did nothing more than feign a chuckle. Evette moved in front of me and started. "I think your friends were helping you pack since you are such a terrible procrastinator." I decided I was going to play along for a minute. "Good call there. Glad you guys could help." "Your new girl is very persuasive," Tom smiled. "And new," Cliff remarked, his face somewhat less cordial. "Evette," I said. She turned to me and smiled. "Yes?" "Okay, what the hell? So now she's my girlfriend." I was starting to feel like I had missed a couple of episodes of Adventures with Vaughn featuring missing pages of the script to make it super interesting. "Can I talk to you for a sec?" I pulled her by the arm into the bedroom and I sat her on the bed and stood over her. "Three things." "What the hell?" She took a deep breath. "Stay calm. Yes, we drugged you, but only for the flight." "Well, it's comforting to know. It's not like I can form a good working relationship with people while I'm conscious anyway," I snapped. "We got to LA yesterday. I've been busy getting you packed and getting your alibi set up," she said quickly. "This is your alibi?" I almost yelled. "You're my girlfriend and we're just jetting off to France?" "Yeah, hello. World's thinnest cover story? It's me. Flimsiest lie ever told. You want to do lunch later?" Evette frowned. "Vaughn, calm down. It's working out all right. I used your phone to text them last night, and when they got here this morning, I told them we've been dating on and off for months, since you got a job offer in Paris last fall." "Oh. Okay, maybe I was a little wrong about the flimsy story. That's not bad." Evette stood up and looked at me closely. "Was trying to tell you, but I've got such horrid timing sometimes." I nodded as I thought over the situation. I smiled and asked, "So, do we really have to sell this whole relationship thing?" "I'm not sure what you..." She glowered at me for a long minute. "I would do the selling, you just be yourself." "Double standard at work," I quipped. I smiled a little and she smiled back and took my hand. We walked to the living room. Tom and Cliff were arguing over which coffee belonged to whom. Hey, thanks for helping me out here, guys. It would have been a beast to pack all this by myself, I said. The sooner we got packed, the sooner I could stop this freaky sham and get back to my equally freaky dream job life. No problem. We were worried about you after the party, since we haven't heard from you. Not until last night, Cliff said. I grabbed the donut and started to eat when Evette snapped it from my fingers quickly and took a big bite. Hey! She'd said something that sounded flirtatious in French and took another bite. Yeah, and that would mean, I asked, the best pastry is this stolen one? She smiled, genuinely, I think. Well, what a smile it was. I could easily see worse fake girlfriends to have. I spent the better part of the morning packing up my apartment, and I was shocked at how long it didn't take. I guess my odd sense of pseudo-minimalism paid off for once. My book and movie collection probably took the longest, mostly because as I put them into boxes, I kept finding myself stumbling along memory lane, lost in my own past for precious seconds at a time. I remembered where I was when I finished this book, or who I saw this movie with, and what I felt when the credits rolled. It wasn't sad exactly, just reminiscent. Packing up was difficult for other reasons, though. I kept having to skirt around the truth with Tom and Cliff. Tom, who was a good guy all in all, was easier to fool. Probably because he was blinded by a boyish envy of Evette, who was in truth hotter than any girl I'd ever seen him with. Cliff, on the other hand, gave me the impression he knew something wasn't exactly kosher. Around lunch, we all settled in on a delivered pizza, and I guess Cliff got tired of the questions dodging because we were nearly finished. He simply asked, "What did happen to you at the party, Vaughn?" I think I must have looked an awful lot like a furry critter about to become crushed into road paste at that moment. I hadn't even considered what I was supposed to say when asked about my abduction specifics. Felt like I hadn't said anything at an age when, much to my relief, Evette once again answered for me. You didn't tell them? For shame, she began. She once again half-hugged me as she told him her version of the story. I have a crazy ex-boyfriend who heard about Vaughn from another friend of mine and decided to crash the party. Tom interrupted. What was his deal? The big white robe says nutcase, sure enough. I decided to interject about Dane at that point. He's a Gandalf cosplayer. Apparently he drove across town from some convention at the last minute. Friggin' weirdo. Evette played right into this and put on an embarrassed smile. Did I go to the club right as he did? I saw the whole thing. Cliff finally said something. I don't remember seeing you there. I felt my temperature spike at this. Had he found the flaw in the whole tangled web of weirdness and now the jig was up? My mind reeled through options. Looks like I'd have to knock out Cliff and keep him locked up forever in a dingy basement somewhere. Shame, really. Such a good guy. Oh, wait. Tom averted that option by just being himself. Oh, please. You were so shit-faced by then you could hardly remember who I was. Tom grinned. Cliff's cheeks reddened a little. Fair enough. Long story short, as he dragged Vaughn out of the club, I caught up to him and told him, she continued until I stopped her, the usual song and dance about how he doesn't own her and it's over, blah, blah, blah. As I was seeing, Evette resumed, I took him to my flat. We had a great weekend, and he decided to join me in Paris and take a job offer he got a while ago. Very cool, man, Tom said, slapping me on the shoulder again. Cliff, I can only assume, was properly sated by the tale as he, too, congratulated me. I'm happy for you, Vaughn. Almost as the punctuation mark for the whole conversation, the screech of packing tape across the mouth of the last box saw the job finished. My whole life in L.A. had been boxed and ready to go. I saw Cliff out, and he was a somber guy, so his farewell was pretty lackluster as far as friendly farewells go. Tom, however, gave me a big, suitably manly hug and patted me on the shoulder. Take care of yourself out there, man. If you need anything, you just call. Thanks, bud. I appreciate that. I'll look you up when I'm back in town. I shook his hand firmly. You better. With a broad smile, he was out the door and down the hall. I let out a huge breath and plopped down on the floor, leaning against the wall. Evette sat next to me. We were both silent for a long time. I was just trying to pull myself together. It was a surrealistic nightmare in a lot of ways and a bittersweet fantasy in others. If Evette had been a real girlfriend, that would be a great time for a comforting hug and kiss on the cheek. But there I was, sans real girlfriend. I think that went very well, don't you? She said finally, looking at me expectantly. It was hard for me to wallow when she caught me with her blue eyes. As far as sham relationships go, sure. Went smashing. She reached in her pocket and pulled her phone, checking the clock, I assumed. Some good news, she asked. You're out of tranquilizers and I can expect to have my memory for the next few days? I half joked. She smiled a little but didn't laugh. We have a few hours to kill before the plane is ready to take us back to Paris. Wait, I have actual time to do something that doesn't include misdirection or perception-altering revelations, I said sarcastically. Yes, I've been to Los Angeles before. Care to show me some sights? She said. I was surprised to hear that. The implication I got from all these people was that they would all be very well traveled. I guess I knew less than I thought I did. A nice surprise once in a while. Well, there are at least 3 places you have to see if you visit this part of LA. We can make 2 of them easily enough, but the third one I'd rather go do right before we left, I told her. Give me a moment to change and we can get going, she said. While she went into the next room, I took stock of the situation. My apartment and most of my life have been boxed and packed. I had a hot French woman changing in what used to be my bedroom. All in all, it was shaping to be a hell of a weekend. And what was I really doing still remained largely unknown. As I said, I don't gamble with money, only people, things, and situations. And my particular circumstances were pushing on all 3. I was equal parts excited and terrified, although I hid the latter fairly well, I like to think. Evette and her cover story put me into a conflicted spiral for 2 reasons. 1, I'm nothing if not promiscuous, so the faux intimacy was giving me a headache and a case of blue balls to boot. And 2, if I'm not afraid to lie if the situation calls for it, but I hate to lie to friends, especially when I'm not even sure what the lie really is. Regardless, I was getting worn out just thinking about it. I picked up the keys to my car from the counter and I had a thought, and I called into the bedroom where Evette was changing. Hey, what about my office? I need to pack that up too. Her voice drifted through the door. We sent movers over the weekend to collect your office effects. They will be here shortly to pick up the boxes, and they will all be shipped to your flat in Paris. Well, that's oddly considerate, I said to myself. I looked at the keys to my car. Yeah, what about my car? We've got buyers on call if you care to sell it, she said. I felt my pulse elevate and my eyes grow wide. Hold on a minute. Nothing, and I mean nothing, comes between me and my baby. Evette came out of the bedroom dressed in an above-the-knee white dress. Your baby? For a group of people who seem to know more about me than I volunteer in 10 dates, how could they not know about me and my car? I grabbed Evette by the hand and pulled her out of the apartment in a rush. In less than 5 minutes, we were walking to my carport on the ground floor of my building. Evette, I can appreciate that you're to act as my assistant and fake girlfriend and all, but if this is going to work, there's somebody you got to meet. I punched in the code to the control pad next to the door, and the garage door lurched upward. As it rose slowly, I said to myself, more to her, my 2007 Mustang GT California Special. I named her Katie, and she's very special to me. The door let in light shine in on the only woman who I knew would always be there for me. Grabber orange with black stripes, the forward canted grille and open breather intakes in the hood gave her an aggressive curvature that never failed to turn heads. I had a friend, mechanically inclined to the utmost, who helped me tune and upgrade Katie. I designed the paint job myself and took special care to keep her shiny and well-fed. Evette didn't say anything at first. She took a step towards Katie and rolled her eyes. This is your baby. I smiled and looked at the aggressive curves of the Mustang's chassis. Absolutely. She comes with me, or there's no deal. Evette pulled her phone out, dialed, and put it to her ear. As she waited for a reply, I opened the driver's side door and got in the car. Now, there are times in life when things just feel right, when the universe opens up some secret code. An instant when you can make the move without fear or doubt, with a certainty that is immutable and tangible. You make the move because you know you'd betray who you are in the pit of your soul to do otherwise. It's life-affirming, and there is no possible way it is the wrong thing for you. It's epochal and in no way possible for sale to the general public. And it took me 2 decades to really master the detection of such events, and as such, I could count on one hand the times that it had happened to me when I least expected it. The first time, when I slept with Kimber Riley in high school, which ended poorly, for lack of a better term. Who knew a girl would get upset when you accidentally sleep with her twin and get caught because I didn't. High school. The next was during art school when I started to paint for fun rather than for a grade. After that was when I met my ex-wife, which also ended poorly, but that's another super upsetting story. And then it was when I took my trip to Vegas and subsequently got over the ex-wife. Lastly was when I sat in Katie for the first time at the dealership. The seat fit around me perfectly. The sound of the engine got my blood pumping even on idle, and exponentially more so when I got her up to 96 on the test drive. So sue me for being giddy as I drove a car that makes a Toyota look like a joke wrapped in a car. Started the V8 engine and I felt the growl in the steering wheel. It always makes me feel better when I hear the sound of Katie come into life like that. No matter what kind of day I've had, she always puts me in a better mood. It's that kind of catharsis that I can't really describe to anyone else. So sorry if you literally can't be me as you turn the key. I closed the door, buckled my seatbelt, and using the custom touchscreen interface I had installed, pulled up my favorite playlist called Absolution of Disillusion. Evette finished her call and got in the car. If we bring the car to the airfield, we can have a route to Paris. Fantastic. I revved the engine for effect. You hear that, sweetheart? We're going to Paris. Evette looked at me with an eyebrow arched. You're quite strange, you know that? I smiled broadly. Now buckle up, French roast. I got a slice of America to show you. Gunning Katie's engine, we squealed out of the garage and into the street.